NHL insider Pierre Lebrun reveals that trade talks are escalating around Pettersson, with the Vancouver Canucks and an Eastern Conference team getting into trade talks for the star forward. We're going to break all this down and more later on this episode. Before we get into that, I just want to say to the almost 71% of you guys that are not subscribed, you're enjoying this daily Canucks content and you want to stay up to date on the team, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and we'll keep you up to date with everything to do around the Canucks. But with that, Griffin, we got to hop straight into this report tonight, where we did see Pierre Lebrun go on insider trading and just talking on Pettersson. So as the Canucks make their rounds and talk to different teams on both JT Miller and Pettersson, the conversation with the Jackets is on Pettersson. We'll see whether these preliminary discussions, some of them are very recent, can go to the next level. Now, the biggest thing looking at the Columbus team and why this would make sense for them to pursue him is how much cap space this team has. The current cap space for the Columbus Blue Jackets is $46.1 million. Trade deadline cap space is almost an entire NHL roster. But Griffin, looking at this, I know we've had so many teams linked to Petey over the past few weeks, but hearing that this team is in preliminary talks with the Canucks and it seems like it has a chance to go to the next level, what's your initial thoughts on this?
I think a lot of people are very divided, like we've been covering with this Elias Pettersson trade discussion, is that some people want to see him stay. A lot of people want to see him go. I'm in the camp of wanting to see him stay. So yeah, Columbus can have all the money in the world they want to spend on Pettersson and take that load off of us. But at the end of the day, we're the one giving up a superstar. Yeah, we're the ones that are being relieved financially if Columbus decides to take that on. But at the end of the day, we still lose Elias Pettersson in a season where we're probably losing. If we lose him, we're losing JT Miller after that, then Brock Boeser, and then we're probably going into a rebuild. So then we lose Quinn Hughes, and we lose all four of our superstars all within the course of a season. It's absolutely insane that from a season ago to where we are now, that we would be talking about any of these guys being traded, let alone all four of them. And now we're seeing that Elias Pettersson and Columbus could go to the next level. I'm very concerned about that because I'm coming from the camp of don't trade Pettersson because he has been playing solid hockey. Has he been playing the best hockey that he's been playing of his career? No. Is he playing like the classic P that we saw 2 seasons ago or even last season? No. But he is starting to find his footing a little bit more each game. I know people are going to give him a lot of crap for that just because he is a superstar and there is that expectation. But on a team that is struggling and is very inconsistent like the Canucks are, he's only as good as the team that he's playing on, or the team is only as good as he's playing. It goes hand in hand where it has to be back and forth and serving each other. So with that, the Canucks are on a 3-game heater right now. And Pettersson has been playing pretty solid through those. So if this Canucks team is continuously playing well, Pettersson probably will be playing well as a result of that, along with some other guys like Quinn Hughes, who we covered earlier today. So if that's the case, why would Vancouver be in a position to trade him unless they're trying to get rid of that heavy contract that they might be having buyer's remorse on? But if that's not the case, you ride with your superstar that you've invested so much into him and Quinn Hughes.
My big thing is I feel like this Canucks team is really looking this as, hey, if we move on from Brock, which seems like a big possibility going into deadline if they do not have him signed, I think it's really going to come down to one of either JT Miller or Pettersson. I can't see a world where they trade up both players. The biggest thing with Pettersson, and we will touch on this shortly, is the fact that he has a no movement clause kicking in on July 1st of this year. So if trades are going to happen, it seems like it's going to happen at deadline where they can move him, have free will on where they put him to. But we also got another quote from Pierre Lebrun saying, but I think for Columbus, it's the same question all the other teams that I've talked to about Vancouver have, including a team like Buffalo Sabres. Is Elias Pettersson right now? The Pettersson of old warranted the massive extension, but the only one we've seen over the past year has a lot of teams wondering how much they want to give up. Now, going into Petey, we've seen how good he can be. He had a 102-point season. He was a Selke finalist. Yes, he has slumped quite a bit this season and a tiny bit in the playoffs last year. We know all the stuff surrounding him, all the feuds. That has been brought up by even Jim himself. But looking at this, we do know what the best version of Pettersson looks like. A 100-point player, a Selke candidate center at the age of only 26. This guy has a lot of potential, but it does seem like the Canucks are making their rounds. Now, I mean, just looking at Petey, the biggest thing that a lot of people hate on him for is the contract extension that kicked in this year making $11.6 million. As I said, this is something that the Columbus Blue Jackets can fully take on without worrying about the Canucks having to match salary on any other players. They could trade a boatload of prospects, picks, even a couple of roster players on cheap deals. It frees up space for the Canucks. Am I saying I want to do this? No, I'm not. But looking at Pettersson, if they do move on from him, it seems like this destination is perfect. I mean, looking at more from Pierre Lebrun, what I'm sensing around the market, whether it's Miller or Pettersson, as teams are waiting to see if the Canucks are willing to bring down their asking price on either player before they engage more fully on either player. Now, looking at this, Griffin, the biggest thing is it seems like they haven't dropped their asking price. We've seen Jim, we've seen Allvin really stand strong on what they think these players are worth. I think PD is worth so much around this league. Even JT Miller is worth a lot for a contender. But looking at this, does it kind of concern you that maybe they hit the panic button and move someone out for a little less than they want?
100%. I think teams are trying to lowball us because they know that we're trying to get desperate as far as moving one or two of these players. Probably likely only one of them. But in whatever case, teams know that we're trying to move one of these players. So they're going to try and lowball us and try and fleece us on this trade, no matter what the cost is, depending on whether they're going to a contender or a team that just sucks like Columbus does. So if teams are going to try and lowball us, they're not going to be subtle about it. And Vancouver knows that as well. They know their asking price. They know their worth of these players because at the end of the day, no matter what, like I said earlier, these guys are superstars that you're asking for. You put these guys on any other team, they're probably the best player or second best player on any of those teams that aren't one of these front-loaded superstar teams. So if Pettersson goes to a team like Columbus, he's automatically the number one player on that team. So with that, what are the Columbus Blue Jackets willing to give up for that? Guaranteed what the conversations they're having with Vancouver right now isn't even close to what Pettersson would be worth with the impact he would have on that Columbus team. A lot of people are going to look at it and say, oh, well, look at what Pettersson's doing right now on the Canucks. It's not about that. It's about what Pettersson or even JT Miller would bring to another team like Columbus. We don't want to see these guys go to contenders or division rivals because we don't want to have to play them often or in the playoffs. So sending them to the Eastern Conference, fine, whatever. Do what you got to do there. But at the end of the day, if you send someone to a team like that, they automatically turn that team around or become the best player on that team. Yeah, is the team around them going to be great? Probably not to start, but it gives them, and especially with Columbus, with all the cap room they have, now they would be able to have a major piece to a rebuild where they can build around Elias Pettersson and try and build a super team with all the cap room that they have. Like you said, basically an entire NHL roster by the time of the deadline. So if they give them PD, they're handing them a key rebuild piece on a silver platter and getting almost nothing in return. And that is terrifying the absolute hell out of me.
And I mean, looking at the roster, we do see that there is a lot of young pieces on the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm not going to go through all these names, but even a guy like Kent Johnson would be a nice piece if the Canucks are trying to retool. Looking at the back end, they do have some defensemen. A lot of them are either up in age or in expiring deals. I mean, Provorov seems like an awesome piece for the Canucks, but then you go into the realm of losing him as a UFA or having to overpay to keep a guy like this. But teams are getting so active on the trade front. I mean, it's 1:43 a.m. in Newfoundland right now, and we just watched the Calgary Flames make a blockbuster trade, in my opinion, with the team like the Philadelphia Flyers getting Morgan, Frost, Farabee, a couple other pieces. Teams are making pushes now. They want to either trade off or add assets to this team. We know so many teams want to make a move before the Foreign Nations tournament. They want to move on from players so they're not worried about an injury happen. I mean, we've seen the New York Islanders when they had John Tavares get hurt during the Olympics. That just messed their entire season up. Not that they were trading John Tavares, but you want to protect your assets. What's your guys' thoughts on this? Where would you like to see PD traded? If it was Columbus, what players would you like back? What package would satisfy you? Are you on Team Miller? Are you on Team PD? Are you on Team both? Not saying pick a side because you hate a player, but who would you like to see the Canucks keep? Let us know down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode tomorrow. Keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Griffin, and take care.